Was there something you needed? Tal'shiar files. I'm sure there's a good story behind how you came into possession of these. Let's see what you have. What sort of information do you need? Personally, I'd regard anything given to you by a tal'shiar operative with suspicion. They are masters of misinformation and misdirection. We can do that. Show me what you have and what parts of them are troubling you. I've seen some interesting works of fiction, but nothing that compares to this. Deton and Lortrix working together on a Riemann mining colony? I don't think so. Can you see Deton in a dilithium mine? And Lortrix was storing weapons for Deton? Why? There have to be better places we can stash supplies than in an enemy colony. And this section about Deton working with Klingons to target colonies for terrorist attacks is ridiculous. Neither Deton or the Empire would do such a thing. The Klingons may be warlike, but they won't engage a civilian target without a reason. I'm detecting that sections of the file have been altered. That's probably why it reads like a bad spy story. According to my records, Deton was in contact with the Klingon Empire, but he was talking to them about which colonies needed agricultural aid. And there were weapons on Chaltok, as you well know. But not only were they making weapons for the Hirogen, they were targeting Romulan militia targets, including the flotilla. Now, I didn't realize that Lortrix and Deton knew each other. Apparently they do. They interacted once during negotiations during the workers' strike at a Riemann mining facility. It's funny how people from such different worlds and outlooks can interact. Deton was talking to the Klingon Empire about colonies near our borders, but it wasn't to target them for attack. It was to discern which ones had the greatest need for agricultural assistance. A lot of the newer colonies are having a rough time trying to establish themselves. Deton believes that the more prosperous colonies have a responsibility to help support others. That's why he was talking to the Empire. He was asking if they would be willing to assist as well. Unfortunately, once the rumor of terrorist attacks entered the mix, the High Council broke off aid talks. And I'm not surprised that Lortrix was aiming weapons at our targets, although I don't think he was doing so at the request of the Hirogen. The tal'shiar has a way of getting into everything, and we know that they were monitoring that colony. The tal'shiar operative could have manipulated Lortrix into aiming some of the weapons at Romulan Republic targets. If they were fired, then we'd lose big, and a neutral colony would be blamed for the attack. Also, I think it was a coincidence that Deton and Lortrix were acquainted. Lortrix once worked for the Riemann Mining Cooperative, but he wasn't exactly a model employee. In fact, he was one of the leaders of a strike that turned violent. The Riemanns brought in a group of negotiators to help end the crisis. Deton was one of the people they invited. He helped negotiate a settlement, and Lortrix was one of the representatives of the workers during those negotiations. I doubt they've ever spoken to one another again once the strike ended. I think the tal'shiar are conducting quite an effective smear campaign against Deton and our movement. It's our responsibility to see through their deceptions. We can do that. Show me what you have and what... I'm detecting several abnormalities in this file. It looks like portions of it have been altered. We should corroborate these reports in order to determine which facts are actually true and which are tal'shiar fabrications. Here's what we know and can confirm from our files. Deton did smuggle crates to Viranot before the attack on your colony, but they were carrying ship parts, not weapons. And he did more to help the colony without drawing excess attention. It was our group that helped your people get the water reclamation equipment they needed to support a healthy population. And yes, We spent a great deal of time and money gathering information about both the Federation and the Klingon Empire. But we're not planning an attack. Why would we? Instead, we're gathering all the intel we can about the political climates of both factions. Deton has been working with colony leaders for years, including the Maori and others at Viranop. However, since the Empress and the tal'shiar often retaliate against people who are friendly to our movement, in the past, we've tried to keep those contacts as quiet as possible. Your colony had some talented engineers who were willing to help flotilla ships. Deton provided crates full of ship parts, smuggled from other friendly settlements. Your engineers repaired Allied ships who needed help. But Deton is a man of peace. I can't ever see him wanting to smuggle weapons, especially not to a civilian site. Of course, because the people at Viranop risked their safety to help our ships, Deton helped them in return. One of the ways the tal'shiar keeps control over colony worlds is by denying or diverting needed supplies. Before the attack, Viranop's population had outgrown its water treatment capabilities. They tried to acquire another water filtration unit, but were blocked by lost shipments, denied paperwork, and other bureaucratic hassles. It could have meant disease and deprivation for your people. So the Maori reached out to Deton. He provided the water reclamation equipment Viranop needed, and even helped the colonists conceal it so it couldn't be damaged in a convenient accident. And yes, we do spend a great deal of time and effort gathering intel on both Starfleet and Klingon Empire, but we're not studying their defenses. We're learning about their political climates. Our relationships with the Klingons and Starfleet are still very fragile. They're being strengthened by people like you. But a shift in attitudes on the High Council or the Federation Council could mean disaster for us. The more we know about what's happening, the better we can react to it. I'm not saying that Deton is a complete innocent. None of us are. The political information could be used to sway decisions in our favor. The ship part and water reclamation equipment were smuggled illegally. But you have to look at the intent behind Deton's actions. He's trying to help people, not tear them down. We can do that. Show me what you have. Huh. I didn't realize that the tal'shiar had transferred prisoners to the Kinkuthanza system penal colony. Probably because there isn't a penal colony in the Kinkuthanza system. That's not the only discrepancy I'm detecting in this file. There's distinct signs of tampering. We need to figure out what they altered, and why. Here's what I know. Most tal'shiar prisoners fall off the grid completely. We don't know where they're taken, or what's being done to them, and that troubles Deton a great deal. We have, however, heard of a tal'shiar facility called Installation 18 that appears to be a holding facility. Some prisoners would likely be taken there. As far as I know, your friend's sister has never been in the Theban system, much less been captured there. We did lose a militia ship there a few weeks ago, and one of my agents, Sub-Commander Avron, is still in tal'shiar custody. Avron was trying to steal supplies from a tal'shiar convoy when he was captured. It was risky, but they had critical supplies we couldn't get any other way. We don't know what the tal'shiar is doing with their prisoners, but a lot more people are missing than we can account for. We have, however, found several references to a place called Installation 18. We're still tracking down where this facility is and what they're doing there, but we know that prisoners are taken there for an unknown purpose. Rina Kev hasn't shown up on any of our lists of the missing, but I have found references to someone with that name being a crew member on a cargo transport. As far as I know, the ship she was working on has never been to the Theban system. But if your friend can't find her, I'd be concerned. The tal'shiar has a nasty habit of making people disappear. We did lose a ship in the Theban system recently, a small scout vessel. Its commander was one of my agents, and we have confirmed that Sub-Commander Avron is being held in tal'shiar custody. Sub-Commander Avron was there doing reconnaissance for me. Tal'shiar convoys pass through that region of space, and there was one convoy that had vital supplies we need. The plan was a long shot at best, but Avron knew the risks when he took the assignment. Now that Avron is in custody and the convoy has made it safely to its destination, all we can do is try to figure out how to soldier on without the components that were in those ships. Did Deton know about the plan to attack a tal'shiar convoy? Yes. Does that make us criminals and terrorists? That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. We can do that. Show me what you have and what we're fighting for our independence and the future of the Romulan race. We're short on supplies and allies and beset by enemies that see nothing wrong with murder, torture, and kidnapping. And they call us the terrorists. We've had to make some difficult decisions. Some of them have led us down roads that none of us wanted to take. But nothing we've done is anything as terrible as what the tal'shiar is accusing Deton of doing. There are no innocents in the war, and that includes Deton. At least his motivations are clear. And I can't see what the tal'shiar has to gain by framing him for these crimes.
Captain, Jarva's convinced that these files are genuine. She wouldn't be pushing us this hard otherwise. We need to sit down and show her the discrepancies we've discovered, preferably in front of the tal'shiar computer.
If we contact her and say we're ready to join the tal'shiar, but we need to discuss these files first, maybe she'll take us somewhere where we can prove to her that she's been lied to. There's a